Crypto prices down, global money supply up only. We just made a new all-time high, around 94 trillion US dollars. And there's also an interesting correlation between the M2 growth rate of the global central banks, the Fed, ECB, People's Bank of China, and the Bank of Japan here. This chart shows that whenever the growth rate of the M2 money supply is increasing, we'll also see a high probability of an absolute bull run. And since 2022, since May 2022, which also was, by the way, the Terra collapse month, and since then we went through a lot, USDC, DPEG, FTX collapse, a lot of people in jail now, and so on and so forth. But now we have rate cuts coming up in 8 days, September 18th, when the first rate cuts will occur, and that might also cause a shift in the macroeconomic climate, and we'll see how that also translates into crypto. On the other hand, we also see news like Japan's largest electricity company now mining Bitcoin with renewable energy. So the adoption continues to grow globally for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. We also see now CNN shilling Poly market, which is a prediction market. We always talk about it here also in the context of the election forecast. Now we have Trump leading 52% versus Harris 45%. And today, maybe by the time you're watching this video, is also the first presidential debate between Trump and Harris. At the same time, the crypto sentiment is on the absolute bottom. It's really, really low. Maximum fear, max frustration, max panicking. People are leaving the industry. They get bored. Prices are down. They're calling death upon cryptocurrencies, especially altcoins, especially some Cosmos coins. But on the other hand, like Chris Berniske is saying, we're set for a bullish conference month, or Q4 pretty much, as well as bullish unlocks. And one of the biggest unlocks is actually going to happen in the Cosmos ecosystem, namely Celestia TIA is going to unlock at the current price around $712 million in 51 days on October 31st. This is a cliff unlock from various backers, Series A and B, seed round investors, as well as the initial core contributors, which all sums up to around 175.56 million TIA that will be unlocked. And currently there are around 267 million in circulation. You can also see that here visualized. And in addition to this cliff unlock, which is going to be a major unlock, we also see gradual, technically sell pressure, but gradual unlocks, linear unlocks for the next couple of years. And the steepest incline here on this unlock schedule is going until late 2025. So around a year that we have aggressive unlocks. And then I think this will mostly be priced in, which is what I always say, you know, for the Celestia, the Sane Network, Sparachain that's coming up, Babylon that's coming up, the BBN token is not live yet. As much as I love these projects, I would want to see their core team, their core contributors, their own ecosystem, as well as their own token to undergo a full redistribution through an entire cycle, right? Which means 4 years. I want the token and the product, the chain, to be on the market, in production, battle tested through thick and thin, through the best times and through the worst times. And I think Celestia is now entering a phase that's going to show how resilient and liquid and deep the volume and liquidity is. I'm sure also the foundation has been, preparing for that. I'm sure they also offer or facilitate OTC trades for larger amounts, but I also think that a lot of these investors might actually be holding on to their TIA. But this is one of the tokens that Chris is also referring to, that he considers TIA being one of the bullish unlocks in Cosmos or in crypto. With regards to the events, obviously I'm biased. Cosmos Dubai is approaching, also less than 2 months away, and part of Uptober Dubai, which is basically going to be a full month of crypto events here in Dubai. Right now we're at the end of the summer here in Dubai. It's still very humid and quite hot, over 40 degrees Celsius. But now people are slowly coming back to Dubai, and Future Blockchain Summit and DYDX are usually the two events that inaugurate conference season in Dubai in Q4 basically. Then we have Cosmos right after that, Blockchain Live as well, Cardano Summit, and we'll also have the Cardano Foundation CEO at Cosmoverse, potentially also Charles Hoskinson. We'll see about that. Hackmos as well, our hackathon. And then Binance Blockchain Week, which is also happening in Dubai. And then the Gateway, which is basically the TON Summit or the Telegram Blockchain conference of the year. Now, that's all about Uptober Dubai. Obviously, if you don't have your ticket for Cosmos, make sure to get that. We're increasing prices in around a week, so make sure that you get the current prices, which is general admission tickets, at $179 USD. Now, updates from our media partners at Aleph Zero. You can now transfer from the Aleph Zero mainnet to their A0 L2, which is launched recently through their own developed Most bridge, which is now live on mainnet. So this unlocks the interoperability between the Aleph Zero mainnet and their newly launched L2, which is fully EVM compatible. Then they also announced a new partnership, a big partnership with Bank PICA, which is one of the largest banks in Poland. So that also reached massive visibility, and it's interesting to see how they also have Deutsche Telekom. We also talked about Saudi Telecom, that is also part of their network. They have a lot of enterprise partners, but at the same time, they're also now building out this DeFi retail ecosystem with Common that went live a couple of weeks ago, ABAX, we talked about it a lot as well, lending protocols that are going live, liquid staking protocols that are going live. So Aleph Zero is just building out their own ecosystem. They will also be at Cosmos this year as part of the ZK and EVM track. So if you want to meet Anthony, Nick, and the A0 team, then you can also make it out to Cosmos. And they will be connecting a lot with Cosmos developers. And hopefully they're as bullish as I am after Cosmos to then consider integrating IBC or getting compatible with IBC. That would be really nice, because that essentially would make Aleph Zero part of the interchain. Speaking of the interchain, we have some slight relief today. Everything up in the greens. Even our beloved Atom, after being down only for so long, we talked about it. There was this huge whale who unstaked and sold over $40 million, probably more, $45, $50 million, which is interesting to see that Atom has survived that and actually could shake that off. There are a lot of concerns. We talked about it endlessly, about the brand positioning, the product market fit, and all those kind of things. But yeah, I think there's a pathway for establishing a shared vision, which could cause Atom to be one of the top contenders when it comes to being an interchain service provider, you know, that includes security, includes liquidity and other services, and also be on the forefront when it comes to restaking and just shared security in general. One of the most undervalued coins in Cosmos, in my personal opinion, is also DYDX. Not just because it's one of the most established and well-known projects in all of crypto, but also because they have a lot of things lined up, one of which just was publicly announced, which is the Keplr wallet integration. That is something the community has asked for a long time, and now it is finally here. So Cosmonauts, if you want to trade on DYDX, you can now do that connecting via Keplr by just coming here, connecting your wallet, and now you have Keplr integrated natively, which is beautiful to see. There's also going to be a Twitter Spaces today between DYDX and Keplr. Josh, the founder of Keplr, is also going to be in that Spaces. So if you want to learn more about that, then check that out. And we did cover DYDX extensively over the past couple of weeks with their tokenomics, with megavaults that are coming, and yeah, the entire migration that we've been covering since over a year. But I think DYDX is one of the most undervalued chains or coins in all of crypto, but specifically also in Cosmos. Then we have some news from Saga's liquidity integration layer, how Lil wants to act as an economic powerhouse, basically, a value accrual machine that upstreams value from the developer experience and successful applications all the way to the Saga main layer itself. And it's very interesting how they kind of think about this, abstracting the gas philosophy, gas tokens, and basically replacing that by a revenue share. And how that would work is basically if you are depositing USDC into a game chainlet, there is no revenue that the Saga liquidity integration layer takes, but the actual value capture then begins when there's actual activity within those chainlets, which means the more success and activity there is, the more revenue will be generated, which then will be upstreamed to the Saga layer, the Saga mainnet itself. And that is a very interesting thing to think about. And also, Jing Quan, the co-founder and brother also of Jay Quan, wrote a full-on blog post about that. He's one of the co-founders at Saga alongside Rebecca. And there's, I think, one or two more co-founders and a huge team. Saga itself is focused on the gaming sector, but not limited to it. It's just where they're starting off because they also focus on scalability, high throughput, customizability at the same time by implementing their chain-led economy. And remember, there will also be another Saga airdrop lined up, probably just days, maybe weeks away, Vault 5, which means if you received the previous airdrop from Vault 4, then my advice would be to just restake that entirely, and you'll get an even bigger airdrop potentially in the next round, because a lot of Saga, I think over 100 million Saga tokens have not been claimed so far, unclaimed from the airdrops that will be redistributed to those that claims. And then we also published an in-depth PICA tokenomics overview, and I briefly want to walk you through because I think it's very important, and I know a lot of you have been wondering what's happening with Picasso, why is it down so much? I have some thoughts about this, but I basically want to run you through briefly about Picasso itself, because Picasso has this very interesting and exotic almost history, right? In early 2021, they were basically full-on Polkadot.Sama, one of the earliest parachains on Kusama and Polkadot. So when they started in that world. And only in late 2021, early 2022 is when they really got Cosmos and IBC built. And since then have, to be honest, been one of the biggest IBC maxis out there. In 2023, while they already had their Kusama parachain in production, which is called also Picasso Network, they then launched the Picasso L1 app chain built on the Cosmos SDK. So those two chains were running in parallel and still are to date. In early 2024, they then launched IBC connections to Ethereum and also to Solana in Q3. And prior to that, they also launched an IBC connection to Polkadot and Kusama between their both chains, one being the parachain on Kusama and one being the Cosmos SDK blockchain. Now, they're basically fully Cosmos pilled and want to basically make this Cosmos L1 the primary chain for the Picasso and composable ecosystem. And there's now a second project, which basically was, initially supposed to be composable finance, the parachain to launch on Polkadot, but now evolved into what's called Mantis. And Mantis is actually going to be a Solana L2, but we'll get to that in a second. Tokenomics wise, the total supply or max supply is 10 billion coins. 1.5 billion was the Genesis supply, and circulating right now are around 7.4 billion, 74%, which means 26% are still to be unlocked. And you can also see the full unlock schedule right here. So we're right now here, somewhere here, and have around a year left until we have the full token unlock. And in terms of fully diluted valuation, I think now the price is even slightly lower than that. So we're around 4 to 5 million FDV, which is also the price that it had before. Yeah, right now it's 4.3. So 4.3 million FDV, which is also the price it had before the bull run or breakout that this coin had in late 2023, early 2024, and pulled a 40x within literally 8 weeks. And to be honest, it's always a reminder, like this stuff can always happen, right? Like a 30, 40x can always happen in crypto. It's just literally within a couple of weeks, this can happen. But yeah, what are some of the reasons why PICA has not has dumped so much? I think number one, because there's a lot of big sell pressure from maybe early team members, early contributors. Remember, there's also this huge drama around Omar or Brainjar with some early, even kind of co-founders and the early CTO and early members at Picasso that had some beef, had some issues. And then I guess they kind of got into drama. And now a lot of these team members that probably still have vested tokens are just aggressively selling the price. And considering that PICA's liquidity is not as deep, it's not like there's no liquidity. But yeah, mostly it's on Osmosis, 120K, on Orca and Solana, around 100K, Uniswap ETH, 23K, in Pablo, there's only 17K, but that's also been sunset. So liquidity is not as deep, which means if there's sell pressure from early team members and contributors, this could cause the price to go down. And it's probably also one of the reasons why. Also, early crowd loan members, remember, this is Polkadot and Kusama specific. Obviously, the fact that, PICA, delayed their launch and then moved over to Cosmos, did not focus too much on that, Polkadot Kusama community anymore. Obviously also got them angry, which means they probably all sold their coins. So you just have massive sell pressure. And at the same time, they have kind of revamped their tokenomics. There's also now a fees buyback and burn and distribution to stakers as part of the product. But yeah, the product is still being kind of rolled out and gaining traction. I think it does have product market fit, but so far it hasn't really gained massive traction or significant traction, which is also probably partially because of the market environment. But yeah, I wouldn't write PICA off, to be honest. I think it's just right now in this phase and has been for the past 6-7 months of massive sell pressure. And that's just what it is, right? Out of the top holders, we can look at the rich list. The number one wallet is the IBC Escrow, holding 45% of the total supply, and wallet 2 to 10 hold roughly 2.6 billion PICA, which is 26% of the supply. So there's also still a kind of concentration of wealth here, and inflation and staking parameters right now is inflation 1.19% and staking APR 5.29%. investors, which is very interesting. They have actually a very solid investor backing. Coinbase Ventures here in the seed round, Jump Capital, not to be mixed up with Jump Crypto, Long Hash as well, SOSV, Hash, Spartan Group, GSR as well. Then they did a Series A raising 32 million, so that's 39 million in total already, led by Coinbase Ventures, in fact, but also Maven 11, Figment has invested, and a lot of other VCs. And what's next? That's the question now, right? I think on the token unlock schedule, we've seen it. There's a lot still coming over the next couple of months. But then at one point, there's no more powder, no more dry powder that's waiting to be sold. So that will be over. But on the product development side of things, Picasso aims to adopt interchain security, which means to migrate into an atom-secured network. Also strengthen more synergies with Osmosis, waiving fees, and introduce a revenue share, and also a potential airdrop for Mantis, which, like I said earlier, is going to be a Solana L2 that is enabling chain abstraction to access DeFi yield on any chain. So that's all about that. You can read our full blog post here on Twitter and also on our website. Next up, we have some news from Mars Protocol. V2 launched a new product, a new pool basically called HLS, which stands for High Leverage. And you can now come here on neutron.marsprotocol.io. Remember that Mars Protocol is also now in the process of migrating from their own standalone Layer 1 blockchain over to Neutron. And if you still have Mars liquidity, Mars tokens staked or whatever on the Mars hub, then you need to unstake them and you need to bring them through IBC onto Neutron and swap them basically for the new native to Neutron Mars token. I'll leave an article below this video so you can do that right now if you haven't done that, because the Mars hub, the Mars chain will be depreciated. But now on their new products here on Neutron, you can basically maximize and massively increase your APY for Atom in that case. ST Atom pools are now here only visible because I think the D Atom pool, the drop Atom pool is already filled. The cap has been reached. But even with this ST Atom pool, you can increase your APY from 14.7% or whatever the APR for staking Atom is to 49%, which is massive. On the drop pool, it was even more than that. You could increase your APY up to 72% while also earning 20x on your drop.money droplets, which is basically a points program that later might translate into drop tokens. Rebel DeFi made a great tutorial about that. Not the first time we did those great tutorials. He's doing a lot of these. You should definitely follow him and also, watch these videos. They're very short and very actionable. Then we have big news, breaking news actually, from Kujira with regards to a new merger, the Kujira Alliance, which is a merger between Kujira ecosystem applications and Levana. And that would basically unify under one token, the Ruji token, which becomes the THORChain application layer. Remember that Kujira itself is migrating to THORChain once IBC is enabled on THORChain and once CosmWasm is enabled on THORChain. And Kujira basically becomes the application layer, bringing all these projects with it, namely Fusion, Wink, NSTK, and potentially also the LVN token to all merge into the Ruji token, which would be more investable and allow for evaluation, reset, higher fundraising benchmarks, and higher potential for listings with top centralized exchanges and market makers. They're also going to set up a Kujira treasury that will be capitalized with up to $10 million. And JP Tor, the founder of THORChain, also made a spaces about that. I haven't listened to it yet, but 4,500 people have, so I still have to do my homework there. Then also big news from Osmosis, big milestone achievements actually. This week has marked a new monthly all-time high in net new wallets with 717 wallets added on September 2nd. And currently we have more than 13,000 daily active addresses, nearly 1 million active addresses in total, and 385 million Osmo that are staked totally from over 500,000 of unique total delegators. And speaking of staking, the staking volume, staking ratio is continuously rising with a 5% increase in staking volume last week alone. And more than $29 million have been staked this past week as well, which means more and more people are getting more and more confident into just staking their Osmo. There's a 14-day unstaking period, which means that these people are willing to lock up their Osmo for at least 2 weeks for a 9 or 10% staking APR, which is likely to continue dropping because also there are proposals floating around about further reducing the inflation, and that will also reduce staking APR. But I think Osmosis, alongside DYDX and many other coins in Cosmos, severely undervalued and probably one of the most asymmetric bets right now. Then we have some news from Initia initializing mainnet 58% loaded, which means we're probably days, maybe weeks away. But Initia, one of the most highly anticipated launches in Cosmos. We also have Movement coming up that is also going to launch quite soon. THORChain, very soon also going to launch mainnet, as well as Namada. Namada is literally days away as well. So those are already solid projects. We just saw Babylon went live on mainnet, even though the BBN token is not live yet. But very, very high profile mainnet launches are around the corner, including Mantra Chain. Mantra is also going to launch their mainnet very, very soon. Maybe around Cosmos, shortly before, shortly after, we'll see. But there are currently a lot of missions on the Mantra testnet. It's very, very busy there right now, where you can collect karma points that later might translate into OM tokens. There's going to be a 50 million OM airdrop, which at the current price of around $1 is $50 million. And yeah, you can participate here in all these missions that are active right now and earn points.